All right, guys, so we're here with Attorney Pete today. We're going to be interviewing our good friend. We're going to be talking about cars, watches, the law, his life, just any topics that come to mind.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Is there anything no-go?
No, nothing is no-go. We can talk about anything you want. We'll
Okay.
talk about the election. We'll talk about family life. We can talk anything you guys want.
All right, yeah. Well, let's start there. I know we talked about your childhood before.
Yeah.
It was you and your mother, as far as I understand.
Yep. I grew up with a single mom who worked a blue-collar job at a coffee shop her whole life, and she eventually got remarried. I have a stepdad who's a contractor, and and that's kind of how I grew
Yeah.
up.
Were you guys middle class? Were you,
No.
how was that?
We were definitely, I don't want to say poor, but I never felt poor. I had the cool and one clothes and the Nike stuff. My mom never made me feel like we were poor.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this before, I never understood how she made it happen on an income. Obviously, the economy was a lot better back in the 90s. I was born in 92, so the economy was a little bit better than what it is right now. And I think you can make it work on a $25,000 or $30,000 income back then. Now, I don't know, for the single moms out there that are making 50 grand with 2 kids, I don't know how they do it. So I really commend them. I have a soft spot in my heart for single moms.
Agreed. Yeah, and they also have to play another role as well, not just being a mother, but
They got to be a dad and a disciplinary
provider.
and a provider. It's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah.
So I can't imagine what your mom went through, especially dealing with you now that I know you. So
Funny enough, I was a very quiet, shy kid.
really?
I was the kid when we went to church. My mom would say, "Sit down and don't move." I just listened. I sat down. I didn't move. At school, I was shy. I never said anything. I didn't kind of come out of my shell until like I would say middle school, high school. I started coming out of my shell a little bit more. But generally, the public kind of knows me as Pete, and I'm Attorney Pete. But my friends and family know me as Peter, and I'm still kind of a dorky, shy kid. At the core, I get a little nervous. My
got
fiance
you.
will laugh at this because she knows. Yeah.
When did so growing up, you were kind of shy. Did that get to high school? When was that turning point that you've become, more outgoing?
I think late middle school, high school, I became a little bit more outgoing, a little bit more comfortable, and kind of expressing myself or understanding that it was okay to be weird.
Yeah.
And I was weird. I grew up in elementary school. I grew up in this town called Milltown, right next to East Brunswick. It was like an all-white town. I think I was the only kid that was brown. So there was a couple black kids and there was white kids, and I was like the one odd one out that was brown. Kids used to make fun of me, and I also had a unibrow. So they're like, "Oh, unibrow boy,"
man.
and brown boy, and you're different. And my mom, we're Egyptian, so my mom used to make me mortadella sandwiches.
I used to hate bringing lunch to school because I would bring rice and chicken, and people were bringing PBJ and turkey sandwiches.
I never had
I'd be
a PBJ.
embarrassed.
That was I was embarrassed of my mortadella sandwiches or my cheese sandwiches. But you look back on it, and those are the things that crafted you into who you are.
Right.
And now I feel like it's cool to be cultural.
Sure.
Now if you're a POC, you're a person of color, it's cool.
Yeah.
You're different. You have culture and you have ethnic foods, and people are interested in it. But I feel like when you're young, you're embarrassed.
Yeah.
You have the same feeling?
Yeah, totally. And now culture's embracing, diversity, inclusivity, where 20 years ago, if you weren't like everybody else, it was weird.
Yeah,
You were an
100%.
outlier.
Yep.
It's funny how that has changed.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I can relate to that totally growing up because I'm half brown, I guess. Different shades of brown. Yeah, I definitely didn't have a turkey sandwich with mayo on it.
No, I had none of that.
Yeah. And at that point, I was like, forget this rice, even though I loved it or whatever it was. But I'm like, I'm just different than that guy. And you want to be like everybody else.
Yeah. Did you have a unibrow too?
Thank God, no.
Yeah.
I'm sure I had other things that, my name is easy to pick on, so I got bullied for that.
Oh, yeah.
a lot.
I got super lucky with Peter Michael because as a Christian Arab, I have a very generic name, Peter Michael. So that I got lucky for. But I didn't look like a Peter Michael. I remember, I'll tell you a funny story. I walked into an interview. I was in college. I was interviewing at I was really into finance at the time. So I was interviewing at some investment bank or some small fund in New York City. And I walked in, New York City high-rise office. I walk in, I'm like, "Hi, I'm here for the interview." And I sit down, and she goes, "What are you here for?" And I'm like, "The interview." She's like, "What's your name?" I'm like, "Peter Michael." She's like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "Yes, it is." And she's like, she didn't believe that this brown guy walking in, his name was Peter Michael. So I always remember
That's
that was
racist.
Shit. Yeah, I should have reported her. Yeah, it's racist as fuck.
Yeah, seriously. Damn. So, okay, that's good. I didn't even know you had an interest in finance. I was studying finance in school, and I thought that's what I was going to do, and
Yeah,
it didn't work out for either of us.
Didn't work out for either of us.
Thank God.
Yeah, I couldn't
Finance
be happier.
bros are weird.
They're weird. And the Patagonia vest,
Yeah.
super cringe.
Right, they all have the same vibe.
Look.
Yeah. So how did you change direction? So, okay, did you, going into high school, you liked finance?
So going into high school, I didn't really know what I liked. I actually thought going into high school I wanted to be a doctor, because if you're an Egyptian Christian, all of our parents told us the same. I think if you're Arab in general, your parents told you you can only be a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, an engineer.
Which all required going to college as well.
And graduate school, right? So I thought I kind of wanted to be a doctor, but I think I only wanted it because I wanted to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And when I got into college, my first semester took bio, did awful. Like it just, the class, science never made sense to me. I was never really that great at math either. So I'm like, this isn't gonna work for me. Let me kind of pivot, and I switched majors into political science and economics because I had an interest in finance, and I always kind of wanted to keep that door open if I didn't do law. I went through college, and I sat for the LSAT and went to law school. It was in the middle of law school where I was like, after my first year of law school, I was like, fuck this, I hate law school. And I don't like the law, because I found law school being incredibly theoretical. And it was like so not practical. You're reading these cases from the 1900s. I'm like, this is not what I want to do for my life. I don't want to just sit here and read books and write memos. Like, this isn't fun. Like, I want to do what you see on TV. I want to argue, and I want to, I want to negotiate. And so I really didn't like law school. So that was my first year. So I spent that summer trying to get jobs on Wall Street, try to repivot back into finance. And I got rejected because, everybody that was applying had MBAs and masters in finance or accounting or whatever the case is. So I was like, all right, my dad told me the most logical thing in the world. He's like, listen, if you want to go into finance, you could still go in post-college, post law school. He's like, but why would you quit now? What's the hardest year of law school? And I said, the first year. He's like, you finished it, right? I'm like, yeah. So he goes, do you think it would hinder you having a law degree and working on Wall Street? I'm like, no, probably would be valuable. He's like, then why would you fucking quit now?
Right.
He's like, just finish it. So I was like, all right, that to me made sense. I was like, let me finish this. I finished, I took the bar, got my first law job, and then I really liked the practice of law. And I was like, wait a second. And at that point, I was way, kind of uncredentialed to get into finance. I had interned those next summers at law firms.
Yeah, you went that route.
Yeah, I went that route. And then I liked my first law job, and then it was, kind of happily ever after.
Yeah. I'm glad it worked out that way.
Yeah, my dad saved me on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to the dad for being logical.
Yes.
Like we were saying.
Yeah. Logic has died in American society, by the way.
I think common sense, it's not so common. It's more of a superpower.
It is.
Right? If you have common sense nowadays, you're like a unicorn.
Oh my God. And I can really see that now as a business owner, and I'm sure you know too. When you hire people, like you could take the same two people almost with the same education levels, and then one has common sense and one doesn't. You can do so much more with the common sense person.
Yeah.
You can really mold them a lot better.
They're really resourceful. And I think people that lack common sense or just textbook smart and have the degrees and just on paper, they have to be told what to do. They can't think for themselves.
Yep.
They're not open-minded.
Yep.
But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, let's go there real quick, because you said your dad said the most logical thing to you, which changed your life. And then you also kind of talked about society. Which path do you want to go down? Kind of men and women and how men are different creatures than women, or just also where the fuck society is going nowadays, and what are your thoughts in regards to it?
It's such a deep question. I think society at a whole, I hate to be canceled, right? But I think society at a whole is a lot more immoral than what it was. I think it's also a lot less kind than what it was. I remember growing up, people were generally nice to each other at the grocery store. You said, excuse me. You said, thank you.
Yeah. You helped the old person.
You helped the old person. You put away your fucking cart.
Yeah.
How many times do you go to a grocery store and carts are everywhere? It's like nobody has the decency to put away their cart. And I think society's a little bit immoral, a little bit more. So there's a famous Socrates quote that says the last two virtues of a dying society are tolerance and apathy. And I think we're kind of starting to see that. I don't know if America's on its decline or not. I fucking love America.
Me
like
too.
with all my heart. Like this is home. This is where I want to raise my family. It's where I want to be have my business. It's where I make my money. Like I love America with all my heart. But I think we're starting to see this like over that vastly trying to have this inclusion and carve out something for everybody. And I don't know, it seems like America has lost its way a little bit, and I think the most fucked part about it is our political spectrum. The ideology of like the you know, people are just like dying to their cross on one side or the other, whether it's like Donald Trump or it's the Democratic movement.
Yeah.
And I think that's really hurting society, because America for the longest time was a moderate country. Most voters are moderate, or they lean a little left or they lean a little right, but they're moderate leaning one way or another.
Yeah.
And now there's this like, they're dying on their
Polarized.
sword of going all the way left or all the way right. And it's like, what happened to common sense? It's part of like, what happened to common sense?
Yeah, they're choosing to overlook pros and cons of either side because it doesn't feed their bias.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, you know, it used to be who is the best for the nation, or who is the best for, you know, at least of the two choices that we have. And now it's just, this is my side, and no matter what. Or I will vote against that person to spite them because I definitely don't want them.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that a lot more with Donald Trump.
Of course.
I'll vote Kamala just because I hate Donald Trump.
Right, exactly. And I don't care who is going against him. I will just not vote for him.
Exactly. Which is, in my opinion, it's the dumbest thing you could do. It's so uneducated. Like, educate yourself about their policies. Educate yourself about what's issuing America, what issues you. Don't just stick to a side because you assimilate to a group of people that say they have to vote this way.
Yeah. And we lost the ability to say, have a conversation. Regardless of where you stand, even if you said, hey, Kamala's for me, and I'm like, Donald Trump's for me, and we had an open conversation of like, well, I like this and you like that.
Yeah.
And then maybe I picked something up from you and you picked something up from me. That's gone.
It died. I feel like it died with COVID.
Yeah.
Because people, same thing during the COVID era, whether you're pro-vaccine or anti-vaccine, you couldn't have a conversation about it. And I think it died in the 2020 election. It was Biden or Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I get it. Donald Trump is polarizing. And I think a lot of people don't like his personality, but they can't see past the personality to look at the policies. So, you know.
Yeah.
Where are you voting?
I'm voting for Trump.
Me too.
Yeah. I voted for him
and I'll
last time.
publicly say that I'm voting for Trump. Whether that gets me canceled or I lose followers, it doesn't matter. For me, I'm not making a vote for Donald Trump because I adore the guy's personality, right? I agree. He's not the best talker. He does say some things that are cringe. He does rub some people the wrong way, and he definitely has said something towards some communities of people that I don't agree with. Peter Michael doesn't agree with. But if we're looking at foreign policy, domestic policy, tax policy, I think Donald Trump is a far better option than Kamala Harris, which to me, Kamala Harris is just a complete contradiction. You know, she says, oh, the last 4 years were great, but then her running stance is, we're going to fix everything on day one. Well, that's a fucking contradiction, right? If the last 4 years are so great, why are you fixing everything on day one?
Right.
And I really hate that she just like lies about who she is. And
flip-flops.
And she's just a spineless fucking politician. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you on loving America. I've always loved this country, and especially when I became an entrepreneur, I really understood why this country is so amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, our parents are immigrants, right?
Yep.
So my dad came from overseas, learned English at 18 years old. Actually met my mom in ESL. That's how foreign they both were.
Wow.
So
that's really funny, actually. ESL love.
Yeah, right? So I love this country. I love what it stands for. I think it's not at its peak. I think it's kind of, you know, on the decline, unfortunately. I would love to see it be better. I think it's still, a lot of people lack perspective too.
Yeah.
They don't know, they think this is such a terrible place, but they don't really know what bad is.
Right.
I think, you know, if they actually went to a third world country and saw what happens there,
appreciate
they would book a first class, the first ticket back home, you know? So
They surely would. Because, I mean, have you visited any third
I've been
world?
I've been to Lebanon. I know
So
it's not a third world country.
It's not third world, but
I
it's
know,
rough.
It's really rough.
Super rough.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to Egypt and it's rough. I went to Cuba, which was super oppressed. And actually, Cuba made me appreciate how humans should deal with one another, because I never met a more oppressed set of citizens by their government, yet everyone is kind. Everyone is polite to each other.
Yeah.
People care about each other. I was walking in the streets of Havana at 11 o'clock at night, and I'm looking into people's like little homes, little apartments, and I saw one little apartment that had to be no bigger than this room, and they had 3 generations of families living there, and everybody was smiling, laughing, hanging out, like, and you don't have that here.
We have everything here, and we're miserable.
And you're
unhappy.
miserable.
It's the Well, it's the
culture of abundance.
hedonism, right? Where you seek pleasure,
right?
But then also just consuming and just consumption culture,
nonstop.
Yeah, and they probably have one meal together a day, and they're
happier
than we are.
Yeah, they're happier than
pathetic.
we are. Which is exactly.
But pathetic on our end that we can't appreciate the stuff that we have.
100%.
And I try to be good about that because it's on the top of my mind of like, especially in entrepreneurship, makes you really what's the word? Philosophical, right?
And conscious
of everything. Yeah, man.
And I think,
what's been your journey through entrepreneurship? I know you were working in a practice, you went and started your own thing.
Right.
What was the hardest part about that?
You know, when I started my practice, I started at 26, and I say to other lawyers now that are, you know, in my age range, I'm 32 now, and I get a lot of people in my 30 to 40 range that want to go solo, and they come, you know, they reach out and we talk and we discuss it. I think the best thing that I had, the weapon that I had to start my practice was I was so young, I didn't have any wisdom. And I didn't have the wisdom to understand how hard it was going to be. I was just like, oh, this is going to be easy. Like, fuck this. Like, no problem. I'm going to hang up a shingle. I'm going to throw up some Facebook ads. I'm going to get clients. I didn't have the wisdom to know that it's hard. I also, I was super lucky and fortunate, I didn't have a fiance. I didn't have a wife. I didn't have children. I didn't have any expenses. I didn't have a mortgage. I had nothing except for a cell phone bill, an insurance bill, and a car payment.
Yeah.
I was living at my mother's house when I opened my practice. And all those, you know, when you don't have restrictions weighing you down in life outside of work, you can take risk and you can take that jump. And I think those are the lucky things that I had that some people don't. When you're 35 and you're married and you have children and you have a mortgage and you have car payments, it's hard to leave 200,000 or 150 grand at a firm to go solo, to struggle for a year or two until you make that break. So I think those are the lucky things that I have. And I went off on a tangent. To answer your question directly, I started out at a firm and I worked that for 6 months, and then I jumped to another firm. I was there for another 5 months. I was basically a year working at firms, and then I jumped ship and I opened up my own practice. I only left my last firm because they tried to dick me over. They brought me in. Now, they brought me in, and when I got hired, they paid me X amount, and they said, our raise season is in June. So I tried to negotiate for more. And they said, listen, you can work here I got hired in November. They were like, our raise season is in June. So you can work this time and we could talk about your raise then. So I was like, you know what? Let me prove to you guys that I'm killer. We'll talk about my raise in June. I'll ask for my 10, 15 grand then. June comes around. They bring me into the office. They make up some bullshit that like I badmouthed the firm. Now, I loved working there. Why would I badmouth them? So I start asking them questions like, who did I have this conversation with? What did I say? Where was I located? They don't want to answer any of my questions.
Is any of this in writing?
Is any of this in writing? Yes. They don't want to answer any of my questions.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. They said as a punishment, we're foregoing your raise. We were going to terminate you, but we're foregoing your raise. Right. I was like, okay, so you guys make something up. You have no fucking proof, and it's to forego my raise. Now let me think why. I was one of 5 associates. I had brought in the 5 months I was there, $30,000 of my own business. And I used to make a commission on that. It wasn't a lot, but whatever. I asked all the associates out to dinner one night, and I asked them, how much money did you guys bring into the firm? And they all combined for a remarkable 0. Fucking zilch. Nothing. So I'm like, wait a second. You guys suck, right? Like, I'm clearly okay at bringing in my own business. You guys are not. And this is why you guys work here, and maybe I should be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So then my firm did this funny shit. So 2 days later, I talked about it with my mom. I talked about it with my dad. I quit. And then it just so happened I ran into a buddy of mine in court like 2 weeks prior, and he was going solo. I called him up. I was like, let's just do this together. And shout out to Christopher Borello, who I started my law firm with. He was a criminal defense attorney. Shout out to him because he was older than me. He was like 35. I was 26. And he was like the only fucking lawyer that kept it real with me and just believed in me. He was like, dude, you're going to absolutely kill it. Like, I've been practicing law for way longer than you. I've seen a lot of attorneys. Like, not many people have your drive and have your skill set at your age. So he's like, you're going to fucking kill it. And shout out to Chris, because Chris now lives in Hawaii. He's a JAG attorney, which is like, if you ever seen Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men, he's like one of those military attorneys because he had military experience. So shout out to him. He's the first person that really believed in me. And when he left the firm, I was like nervous because I was on my own at that point. He left like 6 months in to go become a JAG. And he was just like, dude, you're fine. Like, I've seen people do this for a long time. You're going to be great. And here we are.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so shout out, Chris.
What a story. So that's where you started it. You were 26. 6 months later, he left and you were on your own.
I was on my own.
How long has that been? How long have you had the business?
So I've been solo for 5 years. I've been an attorney for 6 years. I've been solo for 5 years. And I've had basically the business for 4.5 years by myself.
Wow.
And it was a fucking grind to get here, right? To grow, 0 to 7 figures is a grind. Especially in personal injury, where your competition, the other lawyers are your competition, they're not there to help you. You got to find a couple nice people along the way that will mentor you, and shout out to those people. But it is a grind, and it's such a vast area of law, and it's a very lucrative area of law where people aren't going to be very polite to you. And it's a grind. And not only do you have to bring in the clients, but you have to learn how to do the work. Yeah. You got to be a good lawyer, because getting the clients is one, but settling the case or taking the case all the way up to trial and going through litigation and getting the right value, because I refuse, and it fucking pisses me off. Ambulance chaser attorneys, the guys that are volume practice, the guys that are like, yeah, I want to sign up as many files and settle as many files as fast as possible, you're a disgrace to the whole industry. Because insurance companies know that they could take advantage of your lawyer when your lawyer sucks. When they know your lawyer's just a paper pusher, they know that. They're going to take advantage. So, for example, on your standard rear-end case, you get one disc herniation on a 30-year-old guy, and the guy doesn't do any injections, but you have a disc herniation, maybe a positive EMG, and positive MRI findings, and conservative care, which is chiro and PT. Let's say the policy's $100,000 from the defendant. I want $30,000 minimum on that file, right? Even though there's no injections, I want 30 because that's what it's worth under the court digest. What a jury gives that, and then you got these paper pushers settling these cases for $12,000, $15,000. Well, you're making the industry look bad. Yeah. So I fucking hate them. I think if you're gonna be a personal injury attorney, a lot of attorneys do it for the money, but you got to do it for the right reasons. Like you got to care. Yeah. I really fucking care.
Yeah. Well, I saw you walk into the office today on a call and
screaming at defense counsel.
Yeah.
Screaming. So you recap what you heard.
I mean, from what I took away from it, you were speaking to a defense attorney. Obviously, that was clear. Yeah. Backing for your client, trying to close the case first of all, and get him the outcome he deserved, which was at least $1 million.
At least $1 million. I had a client who was rear-ended. He was at a full stop at a traffic light, waiting to make a left. He gets smashed by some idiot, probably texting, right? Smashed. Cars totaled, other cars totaled. My client has no prior injuries. He's about a 48-year-old male at the time of the accident. He has really bad disc herniations. He does conservative treatment. He does a round of injections, which is 3, and nothing is helping his pain. So he ends up electing to get a spine surgery. So he gets a 2-level disc removal. It's called a fusion. So when you remove 2 levels of the spine, 2 levels of disc in the spine, the disc becomes compromised. So what the surgeon does is after he removes the both herniated discs, which are pressing in on the nerve root, causing the pain, you put a titanium cage in there, but then you need to support the cage. So then you put titanium screws through the vertebrae to lock it all in place. This is called a fusion. In my opinion, a fusion at the bare minimum at someone at this age is worth $750, right? And there's a $1.5 million policy on the line. It's worth $750. Well, my guy has outstanding medical bills of $400,000. So if I value the injury at $750 and I have $400K in outstanding medical bills, and then he also has a round of injections, and he has conservative treatment, he has pain and suffering, he can't make love to his wife the same way, his back fucking hurts, right? His hips don't sway the same, like not to be vulgar, but that's a real claim.
Yeah, it affects your lifestyle.
It affects your lifestyle. You can't bend down, you can't do the laundry, you can't have sex. That is pain and suffering. It's worth $1 million right there. I mean, gee, imagine you can't have sex anymore.
Is that worth $1 million? That's
worth $1 million by itself. So, and there's a 1.5 policy, and I'm telling this guy, there's no fucking way I can chop this case up that this case isn't worth to settle and not go to trial at least $1 million, or 1.1. And the defense counsel is telling me, oh, I settle these cases for $400,000. Well, you must settle them with a fucking idiot, because that's not me. I'm not taking $400,000. Right. So they offered us on this case $750,000 to settle, and I said, fuck off. Like, that's not good enough. Like, I'll try this thing. I don't care. And I think there's a lot of people in my industry, especially when they're young, they're scared. They're just scared to go to trial. They're scared to, like, tell insurance company to fuck off or tell defense counsel, like, this isn't right. This isn't the right value. And you at the end of the day, I put myself in that person's shoes. And what would I want? You know, if I can't get it up and my back's in pain for the rest of my life, I want $1 million.
Yeah.
Simple.
So you mentioned in the previous law firm when you were an associate, you brought in $30K when no one else brought in a fucking dollar.
Nothing.
Combined.
Not combined.
So,
zero. I was shocked.
Right. So as you could see, and as you mentioned, there's skills to bring in business and then skills to fulfill the business.
Correct.
And you have both.
Well, I think the harder skill is bringing in the business. Fulfilling the business, you can always learn to be a good lawyer. You know, it's literally called the practice of law because you practice it.
Right.
Over time, you just keep doing it and doing it. You get better and better. You keep learning and learning, and you learn new tactics and ways to practice. So I think, and I tell this to the lawyers that come to me that say, hey, I want to go solo. I say, listen, you already know how to practice law. You'll keep getting good at that. What you need to figure out is how you're going to bring in business.
Right.
Because you're looking at what I do on social media and you're thinking, that's how I bring in business. No. I mean, social media is great. It's clout. People know who I am, sure. But I don't get 100 files a year off of Instagram. That's not where it's happening, right? Because you're on Instagram just trying to consume content, you know? You're aimlessly scrolling like a robot. Nobody's really thinking, let me go to Instagram to hire my personal injury attorney. But in personal injury specifically, it is a branding game because you're not injured today. You're not in an accident today, but it may happen in a year, 2 years, 5 years. When it happens, I want you to think Pete. And that's why I make content. And that's why you see, you know, Brandon Broderick all over the billboards because he wants you to remember who he is when something happens. Right. So it's a branding game. Acquiring business is the hard part. Learning the practice of law is difficult if you're a spineless pussy. But if you got a pair of balls to you and you won't take no for an answer, you'll learn the ins and outs of the law. Having the personality, though, to tell an insurance company when you're staring, you know, I think a lot of young entrepreneurs, when they're looking, especially lawyers, when I had a $750,000 offer, you know, my attorney's fee is a very nice number. It's a third. That's $250,000. I'm staring at $250,000 and telling them, fuck off. Yeah. You know, you got to have a pair of balls to do that.
Yeah, to walk away.
To walk away
right.
from looking at $750 and saying, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking about my pockets. I'm thinking about my client's end line because he has my fee he has to pay, he has medical bills he has to pay, and his life has changed forever. And there's too many lawyers that are just doing personal injury and pre-litigation that are pussies. That they'll take the $250 and they'll sell their client down the road. I won't do that. And I think that makes me unique. And I think my clients know that I won't do that.
Right.
I just won't do it.
So you've mentioned how a lot of other attorneys are spineless and don't have the fortitude to push through to get what you believe the clients deserve. Mm-hmm. Why do you think you have, or how did you acquire those skill sets? Fortitude, the ability to push through acquisition, which is very difficult. Not many people have those skills.
It comes back to, I think, how I was raised. My mom and dad were divorced when I was 2. And my dad also ran his own business. And I worked for him through some of my high school years and a little bit of college. And my dad had this saying that he was just like, if you want something done, you fucking do it. You just don't take no for an answer. And I know it's kind of cliche, but it's really the truth. Like, you just don't take no for an answer. You push, you push, you push, you push, until you can't push anymore. And then you know you got there. Because if you don't keep pushing and you sell short, you go to sleep at night thinking like, did I do it right? Did I do what it takes? Did I get 100%? Mm-hmm. And then my mom taught me resilience and fortitude and, you know, perseverance. Single moms persevere. Single moms that don't speak English, that come to the United States, that raising a boy, a male, to become a man, they persevere and they become hardened and strong. Mm-hmm. And I think you watch that, and as you get older, you realize that. And you look back and you're like, how did she do it? It's because also she refused to take no for an answer. And then my mom was like, had a beautiful smile, was very outgoing and funny. And my mom worked at a coffee shop, but always made friends. And my mom worked at a coffee shop in Colts Neck, New Jersey, which is a very high income area. And these entrepreneurs, these $1 million a year guys loved my mom. My mom got me into so many legal interviews because so many lawyers went there and they loved her. And the first thing I'd get on the phone with these lawyers, they would say, I fucking love your mom. Like, she greets me every morning with a smile. She's funny. We always talk about things. So I think that positivity, that aura, kind of, I got some of that from too. Like, I love to smile, I love to have fun. So I think I learned it from my parents to persevere and just be relentless. Like, you just got to be a killer, you know? There's too many people that are soft. And my mentor in the law, I'm so lucky, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to say his name publicly, but I am so lucky. In my opinion, top 5 plaintiffs' attorneys, Barry Eichen, shout out Barry Eichen, Eichen Zaslow Crutchlow is the firm in Edison. Barry, in my opinion, is top 5 personal injury plaintiff attorneys. I've gotten super lucky to become friends with him. Someone I think is like a mentor, someone I see kind of almost like a dad figure. He's relentless. He's a fucking killer. That's what makes him the best. And, you know, I've kind of noticed that in all the best attorneys. They're relentless. They're dogs. Like, you know, they get it. And so that's how you get it.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Let's switch up from entrepreneurship. Or maybe, do you have advice for young entrepreneurs, not just in the law game, but just anyone looking to start a business, interested in the journey, wants to consider doing their own thing? What advice do you have for them?
Really focus on how you're going to get clients in your line of business. Don't worry about, obviously worry about how to do a good job once you get that client, but you will figure that out and you'll have time to figure that out. But focus on how you're going to get clients. In the sea of competition, that's the most important, because getting clients is how you pay the bills. Be a fucking penny pincher. I hate like those like hedge fund, like you see a lot of these guys that like in software and then they go out and they have these like they new tech developments and they get VC funding and they spend $1 million like $1 million doesn't fucking matter. When I started my law firm, it was $9 grand I started it with. And every fucking penny counted. And you gotta be a penny pincher. And my favorite show is Shark Tank. But I was watching it last night. Barbara just said that to a bunch of, there was a people on the show, and she's like, I hate you guys. I hate you guys for wasting $2 million and not realizing that you're retarded. When I started out in the real estate career in New York City, she's like, I fucking squeezed every dollar. And I was the same way. I got overcharged $20 from Verizon. I was on the phone for 2 hours to get my $20 back. Because that $20 meant a lot to me. Now I don't care. Now someone else yells to Verizon, and they'll never yell as hard as I will. But you got to penny pinch because every dollar matters. And I think those are the 2 biggest things. Figure out how you're going to get clients, penny pinch until you have enough money not to.
That's fucking great. Yeah, it's huge. Do you want to talk about something besides?
Fuck the, you know, enough about the law, right?
Yeah.
Gets me worked up.
I can tell.
Gets me
something more chill.
Mild. Yeah, something mild. So, you know.
All right. I have a question that I was curious about. Obviously, we know you're into cars. We share that interest. I don't know if we did this last time, but if you had to pick a 3-car garage, right? You have a beautiful house. You only have 3 spots, and those 3 cars are supposed to check every box for you. What's your 3-car solution?
Are the 3 for me, or do I have to include my wife?
Interesting.
That's an interesting question.
I think for the family, just like
for the family,
these are the cars that you guys can use.
Okay. I think you need an SUV. Right. So SUV, you rotate, you know, X5, Range Rover Sport, something in that range, right? SUV. 911 turbo. Not mandatory. It's either a 911 turbo, or personally, I like the Targa. So a 911 Targa GTS, because the highest trim line will be GTS on the Targa. So that's number 2. And then weirdly enough, the last one is interchanged between, I'm not sure. It's either a pickup, because, you know, why not? Or it's like you ever see those like 1980 Benzes, like drop top, you know, cruiser, like cruiser Benz, and I drive it to church on Sunday morning, like baby blue, you know, the white interior, like one of those. So I think those are the setup. You need like an SUV for the family. I have a dog. I think we'll always have a dog in my family. My fiance is obsessed with dogs, so I have a dog, Ellie. I love Ellie with all my heart. And then, so you need one of those. You need the sports car, mandatory. And then the last one can kind of be, you know, whether it be a Ford F1 pickup, or, you know, a little cruiser to church, a little something, I'd
say the cruiser over the pickup.
Cruiser over the pickup,
I could see you more as a Benz guy than an F-150 guy.
I don't know. The F-150 is like, it's big baller.
I've only driven one pickup, and it was a Raptor, so I was spoiled.
That is the best
That
pickup.
was a sick-ass pickup truck.
Sick-ass car.
I never liked them until I drove down. I was like, okay, pickup trucks are cool.
Yeah, and if you go one level down, it's F-150 Platinum.
Okay.
Also sick.
Nice.
Also sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't do like GMC or Dodge. It would be F-150 because that's classic.
I don't like American brands in general for any cars.
Me neither,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
I like American-made stuff. I like to support
I like to
American-made
support
stuff.
America.
However, not vehicles though.
Yeah,
They
I'm
just
with
don't
you
make
on
good
that.
cars.
No, my fiance has a Jeep. It's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, but
People buy Jeeps because they like the way they look, right? The Wrangler looks cool because it reminds you of when you're young.
exactly.
And but
Doors
it
off
drives
and all
like
that.
shit
Drives
though.
like shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're expensive.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
They're BMW price. It doesn't make
Crazy.
sense.
Yeah. I think BMW is the best car for money from a value standpoint,
100%.
especially if you buy it right. It's the most car for performance, luxury, recognition, all of it, and just style in general.
100%.
A lot of car for money.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think, and I also think it's the best driving car under 100 grand.
Yeah.
You know, you could scoop up a 5 Series, an X5, a 3 Series, whatever. You can pay 30 to 70 grand, and you will have the best driving car. You know, so I think BMW is best bang for your buck.
Yeah. Well, they are the ultimate driving machine.
I do agree with that statement.
That's their tagline. But yeah, you could get a 140K car used for 70 to 80
Yeah.
and have every box checked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's true. How about watches? I know we've talked about watches. You have a few Rolexes yourself, which is amazing. And I know you're an AP guy like me.
I love APs.
Yeah. What's the holy grail piece for you?
Holy Grail or Attainable Grail?
Let's do both.
Holy Grail would be the Royal Oak chronograph. Would be a Royal Oak all gold.
Rose gold?
All rose gold,
Rose
blue
gold.
face. That's probably Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And then the attainable one is I would love an AP Jumbo Ultra Thin. So I think that is the original. That's the original AP. It's the one with the little AP symbol on it.
Yeah.
And it's the thin one. And in stainless steel, blue face. That's the one.
Stainless steel blue face?
Stainless steel
Both
blue face.
faces.
Both blue faces.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I thought I was the only one that liked blue faces.
No, it's the best color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rose gold with the blue.
Oh,
stunning.
That's like the 5712 with the blue face,
Yeah.
which is the Patek
Patek,
Philippe.
yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Do you call it Richard Mille or Richard Mille?
Richard.
Richard?
What's correct? I don't know.
I've heard both.
You've heard both,
Yeah,
right?
Richard is like the just
Is the
like, you know.
I think it's Richard.
It is Richard. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Patek Philippe. That's how
Patek
you say it,
Philippe.
yeah.
Yeah.
People say
Patek.
Patek.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's Patek Philippe.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And we were talking about FP Journe.
FP Journe is beautiful. Those watches are awesome. The Putin watch is my favorite.
Yeah.
And I like the Elegance. So the Elegance is the most understated watch. It's like rubber strap, has like this octagon face, and you wouldn't. The best thing about an FP Journe,
You'd never know it was 40K.
Never know.
Yeah.
You'd never know that watch is one reasonably priced compared to like APs and Patek.
Yeah.
And then on top of it, sells for more than APs and Patek.
Yeah.
But so rumor has it when you're lucky enough to get an FP Journe, your name goes in a handwritten book by the actual watchmaker. And if you sell it at auction, you're banned from buying another one.
Wow.
You have to get approval to resell your FP.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I've heard to even purchase them, forget the AD game that Rolex plays, you have to meet him.
You have to meet
You
him.
have to do 3 interviews.
Correct.
And then be approved.
Correct. And you have to submit a letter.
Yeah, right.
Part of your
I
interview
forgot about
process.
that. Did we watch the same video?
Yeah, yes, we did.
With
Yeah.
Kevin O'Leary?
Yes,
Okay, yeah,
exactly.
we did.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And my buddy I have 2 friends that have FPs.
Wow.
You know, they both submitted letters. Both of them are spine surgeons.
You have to say why you deserve
Why
to
you
be
deserve-
part of that brand. Like,
Yeah.
there's people that have one watch, there's watch collectors, and then why you're that caliber and deserve that collection.
Exactly. I've noticed that he sells, you know, he gifts you one of these watches when he knows that you're not going to resell it.
Yeah.
So I think that's big. So I think if you have a watch collection that's pretty, you know, massive already, you're going to get one. Maybe.
You don't need the flip money.
You don't need the flip money, you know. I don't think I get one. You know, I tell him I have two Rolexes. Nah,
Yeah.
Get out of here, Attorney Pete. Right? He sees my videos. He's like, "Fuck you. You're not getting a watch." So, but I would love one.
Yeah, right.
I only want an Elegance.
Wow.
It's like the most basic one.
Wow.
They make the most of them. So
Is that with the colorful rubber
that's
band?
the colorful rubber
I've seen
band.
those,
yeah. I get the orange strap.
Nice. Why orange?
Because my
Knicks?
you know what? Well, Knicks, yes. But my Grail watch that I forgot to mention is the Patek Philippe
Nautilus?
No.
Aquanaut?
Aquanaut.
With the rubber band?
Orange rubber band and the orange sub-dial here. It's like 120 grand. This is ridiculous price.
Crazy for a rubber bracelet.
For a rubber band watch. I'm not even getting precious metal. But that's my grail watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a feeling you'd say the Aquanaut once I heard you say you like orange.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are crazy for 120K. I'd rather get a Royal Oak chronograph. Yeah.
It's about the same price.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you like cars? You drive a BMW now. Did you always have cars like that?
No, I mean, I was fortunate enough. My first car, my parents got me as a gift for getting into college and all that. It was very sweet of them. My dad got me I was dying for an Infiniti G37.
I got the same first car.
Really? Was yours coupe? I had the coupe. Yes,
Nice.
I had the blue coupe.
fuck?
There you go, small world.
Swear to God.
Yeah, entrepreneurs now, we had the same car. So I had that car. I loved the shit out of it. I went through tons of tires because it had the little low profiles, tons of tires. Great car. And then I got into law school, and then I bought myself a 3 Series. I had a 335 in stick.
Nice.
It was my favorite car, E92. I had that car for 3 months, and I crashed it on 287. Fuck 287. It's the worst road ever. So many accidents.
I've crashed.
Yeah,
I crashed my Infiniti on 287.
On 287? It's the worst road because tractor trailers are on there.
Yeah.
It's awful. And then after that, I got the exact same car, E90 though, so it was a sedan 335 in stick.
Wow.
I drove that through the end of law school, all my first year of working at a firm, and my first couple of months opening my practice. And then I got, what did I get after that? Then I got, no, it was actually my first year of my owning my practice because I was broke. I didn't make any money. My second year owning my practice, I got an X5. It was the F body series, F chassis. So I loved, my X5 was sitting on, I had 20-inch rims, and I had the big boys. I had in the back, I had 315 tires, in the front 305. So my shit was like a tank on the road. And it was blacked out. It was black car, tinted 5% all around. I looked like a drug dealer. I had black rims. Everything was black. No emblems. It was blacked out. I loved that car. I drove it for 2 years. I got it with like 50,000 miles, and when I got rid of it, it had like 120. I drove the shit out of that car. But I was commuting Jersey City, and at that time, it was in-person court, pre-COVID. It was Jersey City back to Keyport. I was living down in Monmouth County. I was whipping that thing around. Then I went to a 5 Series. And by the time I got the 5 Series, I started to feel like an old man. So I was like, I was sitting low to the ground. I was like, this is not comfortable for a daily. It felt small. I was like, fuck the 5 Series. I drove it for like 10 months. I got rid of it, and I went back to the X5. And I'm going to drive an X5 until I can get a 911.
Such a good car.
Such a good car.
And it'd be a good daily for the 911.
Yeah,
So.
because you're comfortable.
Yeah.
You could take the potholes around Jersey because Jersey's awful. And then, 911 on the weekend.
You can fit stuff in the car.
Bro, my thing is a luggage compartment.
Yeah.
It's just constantly throwing shit in
Wow,
there.
we had the same first. Mine was gray. I had the G37X
Yeah.
because I needed the all-wheel drive.
I had the non. I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still crashed it though. I hydroplaned.
Did you?
Yeah, on 287.
Oh.
It was a rear-wheel drive, and when it slipped, it would kick into all-wheel drive. So
It had that
technically wasn't.
integrated shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a cool looking car. It was fun, but that car was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a Nissan.
Yeah, it was a 370.
It was a 370.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was fun.
At least it's not a Mustang. So.
Ooh, that's my fiance's first car was a Mustang.
Yeah?
That she drove for a while, and then she got rid of it and got a Jeep when she moved up here. So, yeah, she liked it though.
Yeah.
She loved it.
Girls like Jeeps. I don't know why.
They like
and
Jeeps,
G-Wagons.
oh.
And the G-Wagon is a floppy dick when you drive it. It's
Oh,
literally
it's
whiskey
awful.
dick on wheels.
Yeah. I heard the 2024s are a little bit better, but
Not much.
the car is so lacks any aerodynamics.
Yeah, well, it was not made for that, which I understand. And also doesn't need to do anything different because of how much breakneck factor that car has.
Yes.
You don't need to be an enthusiast like us.
No.
If you have a brain and know, if
Something.
you've seen it on the Kardashians, you know. And
Yeah.
that's really what I think skyrocketed the platform of the car.
100%. It's a nice looking car. It's
Yeah.
cool in its own respect. I wouldn't get one for the price anymore. Now that
Yeah.
they go above retail, I wouldn't get one. But
Yeah.
they just drive like shit.
Imagine being the poor guy that bought it for 300K and now they're trading for 160 and you lost 140K like that.
Don't buy the hype, boys and girls.
Yeah.
I didn't buy any NFTs. You bought that bullshit?
No.
No. You buy crypto?
No.
No. I don't do crypto. The only crypto I ever liked was Ripple, XRP, just because not that I really fully understand this so well, but they kind of control the blockchain more or less. They are the blockchain. But then they had the whole SEC thing. I have like 500 XRPs. But no, I never did any of that. Crypto, NFTs. Don't buy the hype.
Yeah. What else was there that, I mean, there's stuff that always comes and goes.
Drop
Drop shipping was big.
Drop shipping.
Yeah.
Even the Rolex hype was
Yeah.
in the middle of COVID when fucking Datejusts were going for 18,000. It's like, I'm not paying 18,000 for a starter Rolex. Fuck that.
Yeah. John Mayer was going for 100K.
It still is, right?
Well,
Maybe a little under?
It's less now.
Is it
a
less?
lot of them have come down.
Yeah.
Like 23% in general.
Yeah.
Just across the board.
The entry level models are still up, like, but then Rolex retail went up. So the margin is not as much anymore. Like, so what is it? The Datejust went up. Datejust stainless steel, I think retail now is like a little 10.8. So it went up from like 10.2 to 10.8. So it went up $600 plus tax. So you're walking out the door 12 grand and they're flipping for like 13. So the margin's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Same thing with the same thing with the Submariner. That went up. So I don't know. And the the day date in precious metal, they're fucking retail.
Yeah.
They can't sell those watches.
Wow.
So wait, what's that guy on, you watch that guy on TikTok, Watch King New York? You watch the watch dealers on 47th Street?
I watch all of them.
Yeah.
Moses.
Do you know
Bukum.
Manny?
Yeah,
Manny, the
yeah,
heavyset
yeah,
guy.
Manny, yeah.
Manny goes, everything's available, boys and girls. Everything's available. I'm on Manny's boat. Everything's fucking available.
Yeah,
they just
yeah.
gotta want to give it to you. Everything's
Yeah.
available.
So how do you think, this is really good. I'm happy you mentioned this. So we saw during COVID, everything was, overinflated, I guess, if you will, right?
Yeah.
How do you think it's going to change? Like, where do you see the economy going in 12 months? How do you think that affects alternative assets like cars and watches?
I think the economy is going to be very dependent on who wins the presidency.
Right.
Hate me for saying this, but if Kamala Harris wins, I don't think we have a great economy. Now, the Fed cut the rates 0.5%. The Fed's cut the rate 0.5%, which I thought was a little bit aggressive, because rate cuts, I don't know. I'm not a financier, but I think if Donald Trump wins our economy, at least we get fracking back, and we get, so fracking will bring back some jobs in the United States, and I don't know if he's so quick to cut the rates, and I don't think we need rate cuts. I mean, after the 0.5% cut, I think we can hold on it and I don't want the value of the dollar going down anymore. I mean, our dollar is already kind of worthless. I feel like the old $20, like 10 years ago, that got you far, is 100 now.
Well, I'm happy you said that because growing up, you always you wanted to make 6 figures or 100K.
Figures.
That was the thing, right?
Yeah.
I just want to make 100 grand. Now that same 100 grand doesn't feel like 100 grand.
No.
Now it's really like you need to make 250 to make what 100 grand was.
A minimum,
yeah.
almost. Like my fiance kind of yelled at me and in a way kind of put me in my place. Because she was bringing up a story where someone was making like 150,000 and she called it like a decent salary, and I shot back quick. I was like, it's not decent anymore. 150 grand after tax is like 90K.
Yeah.
I mean, they're fucking taxing us 40%, right? Like at the highest margins. Once you incorporate New Jersey state taxes, Social Security, and Medicaid, and Medicare, and federal income tax at the highest bracket, you're effectively paying 40%. Now, when you do sales tax and property tax and every other little small tax you pay on the street, you're effectively paying fucking 50%. We're living in a borderline communist country. So it's like, is 150K enough anymore? No, like it's really not. And I remember when I was little, I thought, if I made 100K, 120, 150,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I'm good.
Right.
And now I think if you're making 200, you're barely okay.
And it's not a problem with the 100K. It's that everything else has increased and
yeah, it's not that 100K we're gonna sneeze at it. Like
Yeah.
people are doing really good, like nurse practitioners, nurses,
Right.
even like people that are doing really great functions of societies are making 100K, and it's hard to pay that job potentially more, right? But at the same time, their 100K is not getting them what it's used to. Like they can't support a family of 4 on 100K anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I have friends. I have a friend. Husband, wife. Let's say they're making a joint combined 150. They can't buy a house in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Now, granted, New Jersey's fucking expensive, right?
Right.
And homes are astronomically priced, and property taxes are high. But if you are making 150 combined income, you should deserve to buy a home, right?
All right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's sad, honestly.
Totally. So do you think, going back to the question, that when markets change, how does that affect alternative assets like watches? Do you think that increases value? Does it skew it where it's overly inflated for a duration of time?
I don't know. I mean, I think the Rolex craze when COVID happened is because the factories shut down, and also a lot of people were getting a lot of free money, right? PPE loans, and then you're getting a government stimulus.
Right, stimulus checks,
and
that
then
was a thing.
people were hitting large on crypto, on NFTs.
So they're just putting the money somewhere.
So there was a lot of inflated cash, and young people that were hitting, $1 million, right? They're splurging on, fancy shit, Rolexes, Audemars, Porsches, Lambos, whatever the case is. You're buying luxuries when you're 18 and you made $1 million because you don't know any better. You also don't have a family, you don't have kids, you don't have that stuff. I think the Rolex market, personally, I think it just bottomed. I think it's gonna always have its premium. Some of the watches for sure.
Right, the right pieces.
Because Rolex will always keep a tight hold on on getting them retail. But outside of that tight hold, that grasp on retail, that's why it'll keep the aftermarket alive. But outside of that, like Manny says, everything's fucking available.
Yeah.
You just gotta, be lucky enough to get it, or they gotta want to give it to you.
Right. Yeah.
So I like Rolexes because I think it'll always hold its value. And I think if the whole American economy really crashes, right, World War III, Armageddon, and then you fucking fly to Europe or you go to the Middle East and you settle down there, you bring all your watches. You can't fly with more than $10,000 undeclared.
But you could wear $50K on one wrist.
But you could wear $50K on a wrist. You can bring a watch case.
A roll of watches, yeah.
And they can't say shit to you. And your watch case can be $100,000, $200,000.
And then you could sell it instantly and have liquid.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, if the whole world exploded and everything was worth shit, right? If we're trading diamonds for oranges, as it says in the Bible, right, as a Christian, then the gold that the Rolex is made of, we can melt. Right, it's worth money because gold is always going to be a hard asset. I like gold, personally. Not necessarily to wear, but I like gold as in having bricks or having some gold currency. When Costco sells gold, buy some. They occasionally have these sales online where they sell ounces of gold at a fair market value. Scoop that up.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you can't melt stainless steel.
Can't melt stainless. It's fucking worthless.
That's right, exactly. Well, Pete, man, we talked about a lot today. Damn, you were fired up.
I was fired up. We talked about the loss. So thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it was fun having this conversation. It's fun doing this.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it with some more people on the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Right,
well, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, bro.
You got it.